Welcome, everyone. We're delighted to have participants from different parts of the world, whether joining us live today or watching it later on. Thank you for being with us for another session of the Spiritist Talk series promoted by the United States Spiritist Federation, held every Saturday at 11 a.m. US Eastern Time. It is my pleasure to host today's talk presented by Marcia Trajano, who will be speaking on the topic spiritual meaning of Christmas. Let's give Marcia a warm welcome. Hello, Marcia. How are you?
Hi everyone.
Marcia, before we begin, let me allow, for those of you who don't know you yet, let me allow me to talk a little bit about you. So, you are the president and one of the founders of the Solitude Center for Spiritual Living. You're also one of the co-founders of the Christian Spiritist Community of Atlanta and a member and a former board member of the US Spiritist Federation. You have been a spiritist for more than 25 years, and you have participated in giving talks and leading study groups in English and Portuguese. You hold a master's degree in management of technology, and you currently work in the field of project management. Feel free to send your questions at any time during the presentation using the chat window, depending on the social media that you're watching us with. And because Marcia is going to set aside some time at the end to address your comments and questions. Marcia, thank you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just want to say hello, Glossio. Good morning. And if you're not in the US today, maybe it's good afternoon, good evening, right? And it is really good to be here. And I want to say it's December. So may the peace, may the light be with all of us. Christmas, as the topic will be about Jesus and the meaning of Christmas, is often remembered as a historic event. What historic event? Well, the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem. But it is always important, and I'm so glad to be the conduit of that, to understand that Spiritism really invites us to go further onto this identification of what does it really mean. Spiritism teaches us that Christmas is actually absolutely it's a historic event, but it's much more. It has a psychological and spiritual meaning. It is to me, to all of us, an invitation to renew, right? So there's this beautiful sense, of course, end of a calendar year, Gregorian calendar year. So it's really closing of cycles, but also beginning of new ones. And as we start to think about those meanings, those that invitation that we are brought to understand, we also see that it's this opportunity for inner transformation. It is also a call to allow all of us to have the light of Christ come inside and illuminate the deepest areas of our hearts. In the works of Amelia Rodriguez, I don't believe, unfortunately, they are translated into English. It's beautiful works through the mediumship of Divaldo Pereira Franco. We learn that Jesus' message really emphasizes the transforming power of love. It brings a message of simplicity and this divine essence, the divine magnetism. So it is all about this time of the year that we celebrate Christmas, but it's this time of year that we receive this presence that calms us, that uplifts us, and that awakens you, me, and collectively speaking, our conscience. So Christmas is really a sacred invitation to renew within ourselves that message of love, forgiveness, and charity, and to allow Him, Jesus, to enter our hearts, and I'd say to remain there beyond those many beautiful opportunities to come together to celebrate, right? Those celebrations, those festivities are actually really important for many of us who may not have a very social aspect in their lives. So at this point, Glaucio and all, I would like to sincerely thank the US Spiritist Federation for the kind invitation to reflect with all of us, with you, with me, with Glaucio and all, on such a meaningful theme. Our purpose here is quite simple, but I dare to say profound. It is the goal to perhaps revisit the life and teachings of Jesus through the lens of Spiritism and to explore how his examples can strengthen our sense of fraternity, love, to inspire hope and help us all embrace a renewed sense of purpose for the coming year in 2026. In preparation for our discussion today, I just wanted to show there's a lot. This is just a sampling of many, many of the books that we can find that they discuss Jesus, the teachings, and also reference to Christmas. We're not going to dwell into this. This is just a sneak preview for all of you. But here, I just wanted to take this opportunity with this figure of Jesus to begin in earnest our talk today by reflecting on his figure. Right? Again, we already said Christmas. Let us understand it is a historic event, but it is not just a historic event. And when we talk about Jesus, let us, all of us, really reflect him beyond that historical figure. Yes, he divided, right, the before Christ and after Christ. There's so many historical references to the man that came, well, 20 centuries ago. But he comes to us as this. Beyond the history and beyond being this object. And forgive me, I don't mean to offend anyone, but it's really an invitation for all of us to go beyond this object of devotion, right? I worship, I pray, and it is Jesus way somewhere outside, beyond my most inner thoughts and emotions. No, let us, all of us, reflect of him as the guide and model of all of us, of humanity. In the Spirit's book, it's question 625, Allan Kardec asks, um, what is the most perfect type that God has offered humanity to serve as guide and model? And I love it because the answer is very short, very clear, very simple: Jesus, right? Uh, and from that perspective, as we pause to reflect upon the impact of this answer, we start to understand that Jesus did not come to found a religion. That was not the purpose. He did not come to create a series of rituals either. He came to live the gospel, right? The good news. And from that perspective, we need to look at it. His life, all of it was a series of lessons in a continuous stream of lessons for all of us to learn. What are those lessons? Well, simply put, love in action, humility in service, and something that is very profound to me, it's the idea of trust in the divine justice, divine mercy as well. If we go to another work by Allan Kardec, now the Gospel according to Spiritism, right at the beginning, I believe is chapter 1, Kardec reminds us that Jesus did not come merely to perform miracles, which is yet another, I'm going to say misconception again. I hope I'm not offending anyone, but this is really an understanding what and how Spiritism defines Jesus as. And in the chapter, we are reminded that he came to earth to show us a path, the path of moral and spiritual fulfillment. Emmanuel, through Chico Xavier's mediumship, he describes Jesus as the living light that needs no human lamps. I love that. So, Christmas, if we think about it, is not simply that remembrance of a birth in a historical setting at a date and time. It is really a call for all of us to awaken a light that is found within us. So I hope this resonates with you as much as it does to me. I love the idea of an invitation to find the divine essence, that divine spark in us. It's already there, but it's an invitation to awaken, to let it shine, right? If we pivot to another spiritual author, Andre Luis, Andre Luis, teaches us again through now with the mediumship of Chico Xavier as well. He teaches that the festivities, the celebrations, right? Those dates such as Christmas, generates waves of peace that extend beyond earth, and actually they reach the spiritual world itself. The vibrations, that energy that we emote, if you will, those vibrations that we create through prayer, the sense of peace, harmony, and the desire for goodwill, they are felt by incarnate and discarnate spirits alike. Joanna de Angelis, through the lens of depth psychology or transcendental psychology, she teaches us that Christ represents the archetype of the higher self. And so Christmas symbolizes this potential awakening of the inner self, the Christ consciousness within us. So celebration alone is welcome, but it's not enough, right? We, through all those beautiful, amazing authors, profound conduit for the spiritist message. Sorry, I'm tongue tied this morning. We are invited to internalize those teachings and allow them, the lessons from Jesus, to guide what? Our thoughts, our emotions, our actions. As we continue now, we just wanted to just spend a few more minutes together, reflecting upon the deeper meaning of Christmas. And I just want to say that long before literacy, widespread literacy at it, meaning was transmitted through visual forms, and they spoke directly to our emotion, our memory, and even intuition. Art historians, philosophers, and spiritual traditions all recognize that symbols compress complex truths into accessible images, and they allow teachings to cross time, culture, and even intellectual levels. And we're talking here about access to formal education. So, for example, if we can reflect upon how symbols communicate across history, from a cognitive and emotional access, we see that images bypass rational defenses and speak to our unconscious. This is what Jung, of course, later called archetypal language. From a collective memory lens, symbols now we can see that they preserve the teachings when words change or even lost in languages that are no longer alive, Latin among others. From a universal resonance aspect, a single image can hold ethical, spiritual, and psychological meaning simultaneously. And finally, for those like me, I studied art, but we see that art has also a very strong theological aspect. How so? Well, throughout history, sacred art functioned as the visual scripture, teaching those who could not read and also inspiring all to learn in a contemplative manner. So, from Egyptian hieroglyphs to medieval cathedrals to Renaissance paintings, art has had this power of being a bridge between the visible and invisible. But I digressed because we are really talking about Jesus and the meaning of Christmas. What are the Christmas symbols through that spiritual symbolic lens? Well, we're going to go through several. I just listed a few here, but if we think about the manger, what is the historical function of the manger? It is a feeding trough, and it's also a place of simplicity. When we flip that from a symbolic meaning, it is all about humility, inner poverty as there's nothing there, material speaking, receptivity, right? It's holding. And spiritually, it also means there is the heart empty of pride. So divine life may dwell there. It is very interesting because there's a bit of a spiritist insight there because Jesus begins his mission on earth, not in power, right? But in ethical simplicity. And that's how he brings us his first teaching, the teaching that spiritual greatness emerges from moral humility. Another symbol, the star. Star, historically speaking, it's all about guidance, navigation, right? We talk about historically, there was all before tools came to humans. That's how we navigated. But symbolically speaking, it is all about enlightened conscience. It's about divine guidance. It is also perhaps about that inner light that leads toward truth. From a spiritist insight perspective, the star that we see in the nativity scene represents the awakening of spiritual awareness and guides the soul through incarnate experience toward more growth. Another symbol that we have a few more minutes. So the shepherds, historically speaking, who are they? They are the marginalized workers. They're also caretakers. Symbolically speaking, they represent simplicity, vigilance, openness to spiritual perception. They also represent all of us, those of us who listen and act without pride. And it is good to bring a little bit of a spiritist insight here as well, because that those shepherds, that is a meaning of spiritual truth as it is first perceived by hearts unburdened by arrogance, by pride. It's a meaning of I can't speak anymore. My apologies. Receptivity, how it precedes understanding. We have to open our minds and our hearts before we can comprehend something. And finally, the Magi, right? Historically speaking, who are they? The wise men, they're scholars, astrologers, astrologers as well. And from a symbolic meaning, they bring the idea of knowledge in service of wisdom. Love it. They also mean the reconciliation of intellect with spirituality. But for us today, let us think in terms of how true knowledge bows before love, how science and spirituality meet when intelligence recognizes ethical truth. And you may ask yourselves, Marcia, why do those symbols still matter today? Well, it's important to first and foremost understand the symbols endure because they are here to invite us to a deeper reflection rather than the imposition of a doctrine, a philosophy, a religion, right? So from that perspective, those symbols are so important because they allow each generation, you, me, my parents, right, our children, grandchildren, to reinterpret eternal truths according to each level or each generational level of understanding. And from a spiritist perspective, Christmas symbols remind us that Christ is born within consciousness, not in history only, as I mentioned a couple of times already. And enlightenment guides us when we choose love. Simplicity and service open the soul, and knowledge finds purpose when aligned with compassion. And we then have to think about Emmanuel because he teaches that, and I'm quoting here, seek the Christmas that begins in the heart and extends through the hands. Emmanuel, what do you mean by that? Well, in practice, he means simply that Christmas is all about acts of charity, of reconciliation with loved ones, of forgiveness of old wounds, and transforming the home, our homes, whatever they are, into a sanctuary of peace. What about Joanna? What does she tell us? Well, Joanna reminds us that the inner Christ is the force that pacifies the shadowed areas of the self. So I read that and I have to ask Joanna, what do you mean by that? Well, simply meaning that this is the season um, and I have to just say, Joanna sometimes gives us very harsh, direct invitation, but this is a very gentle invitation from Joanna de Angelis. She's telling us, let us listen to our inner Christ. And as we do that, release our resentments. If there are indeed cycles that need to be closed, close them with gratitude. And she's also telling us that we must find the open space within us for new choices and renewed joy. So Christmas is again just to confirm, not a date, everyone, not 24th or 25th, but of December of celebrations and all that comes with it. But it is this process of emotional and spiritual healing. I love that. Excuse me. So, what is the social mission of Christmas, right? Well, we have to think about family and humanity. The spirit of Christmas begins at home. And Andre Louise actually explains to us that homes that do vibrate in harmony, they create this ripple effect, offering support even to spirits who are actually suffering. What is Andre Louise telling us? He's talking about simple gestures. a prayer, soft music, reconciliation. They transform the spiritual atmosphere of the home. Excuse me. Sorry, speaking and having something in my throat. So we talked about festivities, right? We talked about celebration and how they're good. Well, Andrea Luis tells us the family reunions at Christmas are rarely accidental. From a spiritist perspective, they often reflect spiritual projects. Yes, those are the times that offer opportunities for repair, forgiveness, and growth across lifetimes. So it's important for us to really think about it. Christmas, then, strengthens our empathy, our patience, and allow us to rebuild broken bonds that may have been broken for a long time. And talk about even, millennia sometimes. So let us think about how important this season, this time, this moment of reflection is so important for us. And Christmas, we have to be reminded here, does not end at the family table, right? Amazing Emmanuel reminds us that Jesus was born among the poor to teach the power of fraternity, not appearances. And I'm quoting Emmanuel here, right? Jesus was born among the poor to teach the power of fraternity, not appearances. So, what he's telling us, what he's teaching us, and I can see in my mind's eyes Emmanuel very stern saying that, he's saying the true meaning of Christmas expands our hearts outwards, and it does that toward social service, toward those who may lack food, shelter. But beyond that, the material aspects, they may be lacking affection or even a sense of dignity, of identity, of self. We also are reminded by Emmanuel that we must really see ourselves extending outward toward those who are marginalized, the forgotten ones, those who have been excluded. So it is with that I invite, through those words of Emmanuel, to celebrate Christmas by committing to fraternity, however you define that, right? In all the way, or just a little bit more, but expand where you are to a little bit further from a fraternity perspective. So, wanted to going to wrapping up, right? Starting to wrapping up. I wanted to propose a few reflections, perhaps of hope, renewal, and even some daily practices, because Jesus never promised it would be an easy road. Everyone, yes, he didn't, but he promised us a meaningful one. And it's really important for us to accept that in deep sense of gratitude. So Spiritism is here to restore hope to Jesus's teachings by clarifying that life continues beyond death. Pain educates, pain refines. And Spiritism is also letting us understand that there is no effort toward good that is ever lost, however small or singular it is there. So it is important for us to understand that Jesus reassures us in the gospel, right? John 14:1, when he says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled," that hope is born when we trust that everything even those moments of difficulty, challenging moments, moments of suffering and pain, they all come together and help us, they cooperate, if you will, for our own spiritual growth. So when we think of that, we see that Christmas invites us to this practical reflection. Are you ready? Okay. Who do I still need to forgive? No answer here, at home or wherever you are, today or in the future. Who do I still need to forgive? What needs to be born anew, like Jesus, as we're celebrating Christmas within me? Which area of my life needs more light? Who can I help this season? Jesus' invitation to be born again is a message that is ethical and daily. It is truly a call for to all of us to renew our attitudes, to reform as needed our tendencies, and to leave the gospel as we learn from Jesus. So let us keep on going because I have just a few more minutes together. And I hope you have some questions for us to continue our conversation. But the light of Jesus, right? We see all of us, or most of us, that put Christmas light out. And there is such a beautiful, beautiful, to me, spark just with the physical light, right? We're not talking about spiritual or vibrational light. And I no longer live in Atlanta like Glaucia does, but I remember downtown Atlanta. It was so beautiful. Yes, touristy, but in the Centennial Olympic Park, I hope you're listening to me, Glaucia. It's just so beautiful, but it's not in Atlanta alone, right? Globally, we see that light that each one of us put out to exemplify the light of Jesus. And it's important for us to just reflect that Jesus, does not seek perfect hearts. Okay, this is very comforting to me. Jesus does not seek that my heart be perfect, which is not, but Jesus seeks a sincere heart. Wow. What an invitation for our own truth, authenticity, and courage to look and be who we are, right? On the other hand, Jesus does not demand sainthood. I know. You think, Marcia, what are you talking about here? I did never expect it to be a saint either. But he does not. He does not require, at least not yet, right? We will all be pure spirits. We're not there yet. So there's no expectation of a martyrdom or sainthood, but there's an expectation um, that we show and demonstrate our effort, our perseverance, and most important, our love. And we're reminded of Emmanuel when he teaches, right? The gospel lived is the safest path to peace. So, from that perspective, we reflect that Christmas is fulfilled when, number one, love becomes action, faith becomes trust, and knowledge becomes transformation. The Christ of Christmas is not in the past. The Christ of Christmas is with us. He is walking with us, and He's here comforting wherever stage of life we are, through pain, suffering, uh, emotional difficulties, mental or physical health issues. He's here comforting us, He's here inspiring us, and He's also waiting for us, whatever that response may be. So, with that, I just wanted to say thank you and to perhaps bring to all of us my personal invitation as we approach a new year. May we all welcome Jesus, not as a guest, but as this companion on our journey, our individual journey. May his examples strengthen our fraternity. May all his messages renew our sense of hope. And may his gospel give us meaning and also direction to our lives. Christmas indeed reminds us that light overcomes darkness. Love always finds a way. I know it could be a song, right? And every heart can be reborn. May this Christmas be a spiritual renewal for all of us, be a moment of reconciliation. May welcome all of us to do a sincere act of service to the world. And thank you for being here with me today. Glacio?
Thank you, Marcia. That was awesome, very inspiring. Definitely, you touched some very interesting points, and we have some questions for you and some comments as well. By the way, there's still time. If you haven't submit your question to Marcia yet, there's still time for that. Before we are all anxious to check the questions, but before we get there, there are some announcements. The first one here is check invite you to follow the US Spiritist Federation in social media channels to stay updated on upcoming events and activities, such as lectures, just like the one that Marcia provided to us. Also, the bookstore as well. Check out the USS Federation bookstore at spiritistbooks.us. And there you're going to find a wide selection of Spiritist books, including several exciting new releases. And there is a special promotion until Christmas. You will receive 20% discount. So if you use the code Xmas 25, that is XMAS 25. And just as a reminder, the U.S. Spiritist Federation is a nonprofit. Any proceedings from sales there are reverted back into the dissemination of Spiritism. If you work with Spiritist youth or are interested in educational resources for Spiritist youth, so be sure to explore the Family, Youth, and Children Spiritist Education FIXI website at spiritismkids.us. And there you're going to discover excellent materials and ideas for youth educators. And take a moment to check out the Be My Hope app, which offers inspiring daily messages to uplift your spirit. It is available for free on both the App Store and Google Play. And now it's time for us to turn our attentions to comments and questions. There's still time if you haven't submitted your comment or question yet. But without any further ado, let's see what questions were addressed to you.
Sure.
The first one here came from the US Spiritist Federation. Jesus is the best example of perfection per the Spirit's book. However,
Mhm.
what about all the other masters that came before and after him? For instance, Krishna, Buddha, Muhammad, etc.
I cannot see it. Can you say that again?
Sure. Oh, yeah, yeah. Jesus is the best example of perfection per
Yeah.
the Spirit's book.
Hmm. Hmm.
However, what about all the other masters that came before and after Jesus? For instance, Krishna, Buddha, Muhammad, etc. So, what about
Yeah.
those ones as well that brought us messages?
Yes, and it's important for all of us, right? It's very interesting because when we think about Jesus, Christmas, and we immediately um, start to convey the exclusion, the limited view that Jesus is only for those who are Christian, of course, right? It's easy to understand, but it is going back to the teachings of Spiritism. Jesus is the model and guide of humanity, right? This you don't even have to have a religion. He's there with his behaviors. But the question is, is he? What about like Krishna or Buddha, Muhammad? Were they not models? And what, as you saw in my um, discussions today, Glaucio, we bring some really amazing examples beyond Krishna, Buddha, and Muhammad outside of the Christian. I'm sorry, outside of their religions. We refer to Joanna de Angelis. We refer to Emmanuel, other spirits like those of light. They are much more advanced than we are, but Jesus is indeed that example of perfection. And I think it's important for all of us to think about it. We Spiritism does not by any means exclude the contributions, especially in areas of the world that may not be exposed to the teachings of Jesus, as we've been very blessed to receive not only Christian teachings, but the Spiritist teachings of Christian teachings, right? So it's a very easy for us to receive the consoling message. When we talk about those other, they are spirits that are enlightened, and like you and me, we all going to be one day those much more enlightened than we are today. So I think when the whoever brought this question, I appreciate that, it is understanding that we are not talk about, oh, don't use Muhammad as a guide. The Quran is a beautiful sacred text. I've read it myself, and I believe there's so many beautiful teachings. It's not that we're saying, but what we're talking about is there is that gradation of where we are, and Jesus is indeed, as we were Kardec, right? Without any preconception, he just asked, who is that? And it's just very clear. Jesus is the model and guide, and all of us are following the same path. I hope this answers, Klaus. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts to that.
You explained so well. Thank you. So our friend Daniel Santos sent this one. In your
Uh-huh.
opinion, how should Spiritist centers observe and honor Jesus' message during Christmas without relying on conventional religious rituals?
Yeah, yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful question. Thank you so much, Daniel. To me, and I hope that all of us who are here today listening to this message is that while there are meaning in symbols, as I try to convey, right? Christmas is really all about that rebirth of Christ consciousness within you, within the individual. It is really a time, as Emmanuel mentioned, that is here to help us remind ourselves that the light in all of it is in our heart, and that we can understand that through some other expressions of faith in the Spiritist Center, Daniel. I believe it's all about discussing the meaning behind all this transformation, physical transformation, and emotional, spiritual transformation of the world that lights up. But it's all about understanding, um, especially that opportunity that we are all going through right now, December, to to seek that vibrational alignment it's not about any rituals or obligations. As I say that, I was talking to Glausio, to my dad. As you may know, he's one of those centenarians out there, and talking to him about those moments that were so significant to me, and today he is absolutely unattached to those rituals and exterior types of expression of faith and love. But we talked a lot about it, and for me, again, this is the opportunity to link, to bond, to open our heart, to be of service, to be the light that we should all be.
Awesome. Thank you. Another one from TV say, in a world where Christmas is increasingly linked to consumerism, how can we, without offending, help bring attention back to the spiritual teachings of Christ?
Yeah, I love that. I love that because um, unfortunately, we're talking about Western society, right, Glausio? Western society, a society that is from a socioeconomic, the wheels of society is capitalist, and capitalist that really invites and seeks consumerism through buy this to give, etc., etc. And I see the if I may, the yin and yang of that, the point counterpoint to that practice. The point is it is consumerist, and we should go beyond the material aspect of Christmas. The yang is because it's material, it feeds the engine that reminds us the birth of Christ. Does it make sense to you? So from that, it is all about again understanding what does it mean, even from a spiritual psychology perspective, right? What is that we should bring to our attention instead of the sense of I'm given this. I was just on a very personal note. I was just talking to a dear friend, and there was this gift, and I was telling her, in this case, thank you. I understand that your generosity material is your language of love. Know that I love you too. So it's really understanding that maybe for some people, that's the only potential expression of affection. But we should, all of us, have the vocabulary, the ability to go beyond that, to really seek that what we're lacking. Remember in one of the slides that I talked about it, right? As Emmanuel brings us the idea of this is the season to serve and be charitable, and the charitable acts may include food and shelter, right? But it also includes forgiveness. It also includes companionship. It also includes the warm embrace of, I see you, my friend. I see your loneliness. I see your maybe state of sadness because you're alone, and I'm here to meet you where you are. So I think this is the important for all of us, not to judge, but start to speak beyond what is so easy, which is the material aspect of Christmas.
Thank you for clarifying that and providing that insight. Daniel Santos submitted another one. What is the
Uh-huh.
most important action or reflection a person should prioritize during the Christmas season?
Yeah. Daniel, again, thank you for your beautiful, beautiful, beautiful questions and insights, right? To me, I think it's what John brought to us, right? Do not let our hearts be troubled, knowing that it's not a pain-free, if you will, a easy road that we live, but that Christ through the meaning of Christmas is bringing to us these. This promise of a very meaningful journey that we all live. So that's my really most important reflection, that we should all be hopeful, that happiness is attainable, that even though we're not perfect spirits by any means of our imagination, but we have this ability to, at this time, to allow our hearts to renew ourselves, to allow our hearts to be open, allow our hearts to understand love and all that is here for us. And most importantly, I think I mentioned to all of you before, right? The main message is of life, life eternal. What we mean by that is this life that goes beyond death, and that as living spirits, immortal spirits, we are all connected. We all brothers and sisters. Therefore, we should, if we don't know yet, start to learn and practice fraternity in whatever shape and form and dimension that is accessible to us.
Thank you. Another one from the US Spiritist Federation. In what ways can we convey the moral teachings of Jesus to those who either question his existence or unfamiliar with his message without imposing beliefs?
I love that. Why do I love that? Because, as you may know, Glaucio, I'm a student of Joanna de Angelis, and Joanna de Angelis, as a introduced, and she's the main vehicle, not the unique and singular individual vehicle, but she brings to us this beautiful notion of spiritist psychology, and she brings Jesus at the heart of all her message. It is she starts with in her, in this case, psychology collection, right? She starts with Jesus, she ends with Jesus. She brings Jesus in every chapter and of all her books, but it she brings the teachings of Jesus, and she brings to us the vocabulary, the discussion of all of our troubled souls, all of our hurt, our pains. So it is really a human, a comment to the human existence, not a Christian existence. So from that perspective, I would say the moral teachings of Jesus can be easily, I say easy, conveyed through the teachings of Joanna de Angel, and how she brings the examples of, as the other question before, she brings in her literature examples of Buddha, of Muhammad, of many thinkers, psychologists and psychiatrists, and many different uh, thinkers of very easy, accessible manner for all of us. And she wraps it all in the same message, which is very congruent to the message of Jesus. So, whoever sent that question, thank you. I think it's great to think of that.
Next one is also the last question for you.
Mm,
Christmas
mhm.
is a time to be with our friends and family.
Yeah,
However, what is your message to those who spend the holidays alone and longing for
yeah.
affection?
Yeah, and this is absolutely, for whoever brought that question. Thank you again. It is important for all of us who have access to our family members, right? Because there is this, as I mentioned, those family gatherings. Really, it's all about how we, as I mentioned previously, how do we get opportunities that are less difficult to address broken bones, if you will. But we understand, as I mentioned before, with that emotional sensitivity that is awakened, especially this time of the year for different reasons, we need to be, all of us, aware of those who are indeed physically alone, because as we know, we're not alone. Our mentors, our spiritual spiritual guides, our family, spiritual family members are with us. So we're never alone, number one. But number two, the sense of brotherhood, of fraternity is heightened in all of us with that deeper, more accessible emotional sensitivity. So from that perspective, let us understand that alone or within, inserted within the family, that you are loved and that you too may reach out to the person that may not have closeness in blood relations, that they are there as your brother and sister. Emmanuel brought a lot of his teachings about Jesus and Christmas as the opportunity to serve. So do serve. If you are alone and you're feeling maybe a tendency to feel, let's say, sad or even depressed because you don't have, and I know for all of us that may be living in a different country, distant from all your family members, this is the opportunity perhaps to seek out with your spiritual understanding of this universal family, seek out and provide that sense of comfort, of hope that spiritism and Christianity and the messages of Jesus Christ gives to us, to all of those that are actually needing that comfort. It's all available to us.
Nice, Marcia. Marcia, thank you so very much. I mean, there were so many insights this morning. I myself, I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
Yeah.
And next week, also, we're going to have another lecture with Marcia Lazaro, who's going to talk to us about Jesus and Spiritism. So stay tuned as well. This is going to be a replay, though. But again, such a beautiful topic, definitely worth to be revisited. Marcia, if you could be so kind, thanks for watching, everybody, of course. Again, we're here every Saturday at 11 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Special thanks. Marcia, if you could be so kind to provide us, give us some final comments, final insights, or say our final prayer.
Absolutely. Just a reminder, everyone, that the invitation to walk with Jesus, I can say walk, air quotes, walk with Jesus in everyday life really means let us all choose love, let us all choose humility and responsibility in all aspects of our lives, in all situations, all moments. And I think this is perhaps the lesson of Christmas that we all should be reminded. We all know that. And what I mean by that, Glaucia, and all, is that walking with Jesus is less about a belief system, right? But it's more about that ethical, moral alignment with what Jesus taught us. And let us close today remembering what Emmanuel teaches, that following Jesus is a path indeed of perseverance, not perfection. So let us all close our time together in gratitude. Understand that is a choice that walking with Jesus will bring all of us in a small circle or the entire humanity, 8+ billion people. Let us, this is opportunity for all of us to be together closer and to attain more and more inner peace. So, with that, I would say, may Jesus be with all of us. So be it.